things that also help me feel South Dakotan are like my Native American culture. It's crazy. Both my parents are half Native American, but one grew up East River and one grew up West River, which is a very South Dakota thing. Very. People do not understand how real that is. But my mom's side on the West River was definitely, I guess, more Native American. And you see the respect for religion and for language and the history and this, I mean, just the beauty and the depth in our culture that when I come East River, I don't get as much because people are like, Native Americans are just drunk people under the 10th Street Bridge, you know? And Native Americans, yeah, you can just Google something or find a library book about it during Indigenous Peoples Day, you know, Columbus Day. And it's like, it's so hard to, I think, find my culture, learn about it, learn past traditional foods like our corn and rice and what blah blah blah. Well, that's all I find on Google or in a book over here, or it's a lot of surface answers. But once I go West River, I can connect with people, I can connect with family, I can get a whole another couple layers to my culture that just I feel like aren't accessible as much East River. And West River people have time and we have respect and we have this understanding that like we're losing our culture every day, the days that we don't teach it or share it with others. So we need to really respect it and we need to realize the importance of it, because I'll tell my boyfriend, I'm like, you're German and something else, which granted, I have a little German as well. But I was like, for you to go online or to find an app or to find a Facebook group or to find a support group at the library or to find library books, you can find a whole section in any of those places. You can find all the resources to learn your language, to learn every detail about your history, about all these cultural norms and practices. And I don't get that unless I go and literally immerse myself in my family, West River. I don't get to learn all those things, you know, the same way or as easy, you know. So, because it's very hard. It's very hard to learn Lakota or Dakota because there's only a few like language speakers that have the certification. They don't hold it all the time, you know, and it takes a lot of repetition. The alphabet is totally different. Like, it's just definitely harder to get to be educated on my culture, introspect it and love it and experience it and live it out in my daily life than for some others, which, you know, whatever. But I definitely think that's something that makes me feel South Dakotan. And then I think it's something people don't understand is kind of a like battle that a lot of us Native Americans are even mixed, you know, like being half, you know, like we still struggle with that. Because I've just heard that from other people too, that they're like, oh, well, I know I'm like half Native American, but I didn't get to know that parent well or that culture because we moved to wherever. We moved to Sioux Falls. We didn't get to experience it. I want to connect with my roots. And it's kind of hard. I don't know where to go, what to do, blah, 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 you know, and then we feel kind of bad that we don't know our culture. Sometimes it can be hard to find the resources to get to know it better. And it's just like a little struggle. I know me and some other friends who are Native American, we just all have talked about it. We're like, if we lived West River, it would probably be a lot easier. There'd be more resources. It's just harder over here, East River. I think that's interesting. Yeah. I think my upbringing, there's a lot of opportunity either way. If I wanted to learn more about my Native American culture or more about my German culture or my Irish or whatever it was, if I wanted to live one way or to live a different way, I think there's opportunity. But now being in my 20s and knowing that I'm going to have children someday, or hopefully I will, or, you know, I'm like, oh, well, how am I going to give that same experience to like the generation after me? because I don't feel as confident in some of the language my mom taught me that I would recognize it now, but could I speak it? No. And I want to be able to get to the point where I could teach those words to my kids so that, say, even though they have a primarily, German Caucasian father and they have a Native American mother, they have an equal chance to learn about both cultures and to understand them versus, oh, well, mom doesn't know much about her Native American culture, so I don't know if I will ever get to know as much. Like, I don't want them to lose it because I'm not keeping up on myself. Like, I need to learn more. I need to keep it alive. I need to respect it more than, I don't know. I just need to respect it and know about it so that I can pass it down. But also, so then when I come into those situations where people are like, well, Native Americans are, when they have those stereotypes, Native Americans are just drunk and uneducated and lazy and they don't work and they just take all my taxpayer money away from me. It's like, excuse you, no. Like, from either tribe I went to, the max I could get in a year between all the benefits, all the benefits without living on the res, maybe like 1,000 or two or something. Like, and some people just have this idea that we can be not millionaires, but live like wealthy lives off of this stuff that we get from the government, or that we just get free houses, we get free money all the time, we get free school, it's like, no, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know about that I need to learn about that stuff to educate people, but at the same time I need to say, here's the importance to why, like, we get free healthcare and why we need it and how it affects how, like, people coming over and taking over America truly affected our health in a way that, like, would never have ever happened. Like, bringing sugars over from Europe that our bodies weren't used to for hundreds and thousands of years, and then just over the last like 200-300 years our bodies have to get used to these different sugars when we were raised on more natural sugars that we found in on the land. Well, that's why diabetes is like such a huge thing. Like, it just wasn't in our system. We weren't used to that stuff. You introduce it into this culture and you take away our foods and you shove commodities into our closets and our grocery bags. It's like, that's it, that's how, like, things change. That's why it's so important to understand all the history, to understand all the culture, to put people in their place when they have these horrible stereotypes. It's like, no, like, let's talk about this. You don't get to just blame me and say, well, you got free healthcare at IHS, wow, it'd be nice to be Native. It's like, I don't like those statements. It's like, you don't get to pick and choose your culture, and it's not like I won the lottery in a sense for that because now I get like free healthcare sometimes. No, that's not the point of me appreciating being Native. Me appreciating being Native is like the beautiful history behind it and the stories we have and like the creator stories, and that we have a creator, like that fun stuff, the dances, the art, all that. It's not, I don't appreciate being Native or like being Native because of the money that I get or whatever and have opportunity to get. Like, that's where, when you face a lot of that, I think in South Dakota in certain parts more than others, when people are kind of like, I've got all these prejudices and stereotypes in the back of their head. It's like, no, we're going to fix that right now. And it's like, you don't even understand all the trials and obstacles that Native American people have had to face. And you get to tell me that we should get over this and that we get taxpayer money, so it's fine, it evens out. It's like, no, it does not even out in the end. Like, it was illegal to speak Native American until like the 60s. We weren't citizens until like the mid-late 1900s. Like, that factors into all this pain, and this free money we get is just to try and compensate for that. And it's like, that's not the same. Like, I don't even know. Like, that is just an irritating part too about being in South Dakota, I think. But it's a good motivator for me to like really know my culture, respect it, understand it, be able to know it so well that I can share and speak on it to others, to educate them, and get them to the right spots, to get them with the right mindsets, and get rid of those ugly, horrible stereotypes and prejudices wherever they came from. No shame, whatever. That's just what you were exposed to. If you're exposed to the cold, you're going to get a cold. You're going to get over it. There's potential to get over it. There's potential to heal. There's potential there. Like, we just need to work together to get you some cold medicine. You need to go to sleep. You need to eat good food. Like, let's work together to get you to a better spot. Like, you have this horrible stereotype or prejudice you were exposed to, and that's what you just took in. Like, let's work out of that to get to a better spot, or to a spot where you don't throw that on someone when they're not ready for it, and you can at least like have a decent convo and be open to like, oh, you aren't like what I thought you would be. You're not like that little box that I put you all in. Huh, cool. Like, I want to get you to that point.